Our friend Pete Hegseth joins us now. He is an Army veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan. He is the co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend, also a Fox Nation host. He's got a book out, The War on Warriors, Behind the Betrayal of the Men Who Keep Us Free. What's going on, Pete? Good to talk to you.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, of course. Talk to us a little bit about the book and what do people need to know?
Well, folks need to know that, without a capable military, we're not free. And I joined and served a military that I love, that was lethal, that was based on meritocracy, it existed for 20 years to try as best it could to defeat extremism. And now that very same military is identifying people like me, and I tell that specific story in the book, as extremists. So political ideologies have captured the top of our Pentagon, and that's proliferated throughout the institution, and it's made our ranks less accountable. It's lowered the standards. They're less prepared. Commanders are walking on eggshells, and as a result, they're less capable. And so it's not a good story, Buck, and it's something that's not just the military. It's the CIA. It's other institutions are facing this too, but it's something that can be reversed, and I wanted to sound the alarm on it now in the hopes that we can right the ship.
If we had to, Pete, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
If we had to actually fight, let's say China invaded Taiwan. Let's say also basically we're into World War III then, given what's already going on in Europe, what's already going on in the Middle East. Do you think our military is capable of fighting a war like that right now?
Sad answer is probably no, Clay. The Pentagon does war games all the time, and they're war gaming against China with all these sophisticated models, and it has an undefeated record in the last decade against China. We lose every time. And it's because China is building a military. It's not that China is exceptional or amazing, but they're building a military that is intended to defeat U.S. capabilities, whereas the military we have is more or less focused on fighting the wars we just left and hasn't navigated back. It doesn't have the industrial base, doesn't have the forward thinking, isn't recruiting sufficiently, and then doesn't have the warrior ethos. I mean, Clay, it matters what kind of generals you have, what kind of tone they set, how those units integrate together to become a team. Right now, the ethos is inside our military. You hear it all the time from these generals. It's nonsense. Our diversity is our strength. What a bunch of crap. Like, especially in uniform, our unity is our strength. We all get the same training, wear camouflage, and get bad haircuts. And after that, you're not an individual anymore. You're a part of a unit that's supposed to operate as a team, and your differences are not what matter. That is, I've talked to dozens of guys, actively serving, and they tell me the same thing. It's creeping into units in a serious way that's undermining morale and capabilities.
We're speaking to Pete Hegseth. The book is The War on Warriors. It's just out now. And Pete, we know that there's this problem, and we've seen some of the wokeness, General Milley and all the stuff, right, and the books that are being assigned, and just lots of stuff that's out there. I think our audience here is very attuned to that. How does it get fixed, right? I mean, other than just we wish we had generals who didn't buy into this stuff. What can be done? I mean, how do you change the ethos back to what it used to be of an organization that's got a couple million people in it?
There's a lot to that, Buck, for sure. But it starts with a new commander-in-chief. Donald Trump said it in our interview with him last weekend. I'm going to fire woke generals. You got to have a commander-in-chief that hires a secretary of state or secretary of defense that will take none of this nonsense. A chairman of the Joint Chiefs that sets the tone. Some very key targeted firings of those that were responsible for the CRT, DEI stuff, the gender stuff, that pushed through women in combat when the evidence showed it wasn't going to be helpful, that are pushing the green fleets and the electric tanks. You need to fire people. And then you need to change the way promotions happen, careerism occurs. There's a lot of things. Then you got to go into the military academies. West Point looks a lot more like Berkeley than it used to. Civilian professors are everywhere, and their ideologies are similar to what you see on civilian campuses. All that stuff's being taught to young officers. You have to change that too. You have to outlaw CRT and DEI. The Army is the military is a top-down institution. When an order goes out that things are going to change, it usually gets followed, and then you have to follow up on it. But it can change more quickly than most institutions. It probably will take more than one term. So it would be Donald Trump and then his successor that would have to be a part of changing it.
Talking to Pete Hegseth. Pete, tomorrow, 80th anniversary of D-Day. I believe it's also your 44th birthday. I don't know if you've ever had. I saw Will tweet that he had taken his family and he'd been able to tour Normandy. I'm sure we'll talk about this some tomorrow. I took my family. It's one of the most amazing trips I've ever been to see that ground. Have you ever gotten to go to see the battlefield at Normandy to see what it looks like? And if not there, is there a place, I know you're a history guy too, that you've gone and had an opportunity to visit that to you sort of is emblematic of the history of American excellence in the military?
Man, it's a great question, Clay. I've never been. My wife got me a surprise trip to go to Normandy right before COVID. So the whole plan got scrapped because I've always wanted to go and I've always wanted to see it. And I saw what Will Kane put out, and it's amazing. Speaking of Normandy, I mean, talk about General Eisenhower, as you guys probably know, famously wrote 2 letters, one if it succeeded and one if it failed. And if it failed, he was prepared to take accountability and resign. Where's that ethos in our military today? You know, we took our kids, you probably know where this is at, Clay, the Nashville National Cemetery, which is, it's on, I think it's East Nashville. They had a ceremony this past Memorial Day weekend, and just taking kids, find any cemetery like that. Few and far between are as large as the one in Omaha Beach and at Normandy or at Arlington, but just have them walk through the crosses, walk through the markers, and look over the horizon and see the cost of freedom. That affected me a ton as a kid, and I think did the same for my young boys. I went to Gettysburg, and that got me many years ago. Just pick a battlefield, go there with someone that knows how it went down, and then share it, and it'll change you.
Pete, did you know that Clay went to Civil War sleepaway camp?
This is true.
No.
Real thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My wife says that she never would have believed that she would have married or certainly had kids with anyone who was willing to go to Civil War sleepaway camp. I did. After my junior year of high school at Gettysburg College, they have something called the Civil War Institute, or they used to, and I got a scholarship and went there and stayed for a week. And my wife said, they gave scholarships, like people actually competed for this. And yes, I got one, and it was amazing.
Clay, I want that scholarship for my kid. Send me the info. I want to send my kids. I will.
It was awesome. We did the Shenandoah Valley campaign of 1864. They have a different Civil War focus every year. It's not just Gettysburg. And they took us on a bus to it.
This is like going to tuba camp or something.
Oh, no. It was super history.
Clay went to a 6-week clarinet intensive.
Hey, by the way, 2 cute girls were also on this, which may be the bigger upset. Well, that there were 2 cute girls.
You definitely had an advantage, because I think the guys that were at Civil War sleepaway camp, Clay was completed
not a high level of competition. That's to be sure. Speaking, by the way, of competition, should we ask him? That's a perfect segue.
So, Clay, talk to me about this right before you came on, Pete. Has this challenge already been laid out, Clay? I don't want to misrepresent.
I don't know. I don't know the exact details. You played basketball at Princeton, right? Let's set the table here.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You played basketball at Princeton, which is D1 school, Ivy League, but a D1 school. Audience not going to hold that against you. But Clay asked me, I'm just going to say on your behalf, Pete. He asked me, do you think that Pete right now could beat Caitlin Clark in one-on-one basketball? Now, I initially said, "Oh yeah, no, I think Pete would probably smoke her." But then Clay said, "Hold on a second. If they're using the female-sized ball, which is a different size, and I didn't know Caitlin Clark is 6 feet tall. She's about your size, give or take. Are you confident that Pete, you could, with no training, no nothing? I mean, we're talking. You take your Fox and Friends suit off and you put on a basketball jersey. Do you think you could take Caitlin Clark? And all of America's listening right now.
Okay. In a 3-point contest right now, no. In a 3-point contest in my prime, it's a wash. Okay. One-on-one in my prime, I smoke her. One-on-one right now, it's a push. I don't know, but I'm using my physicality. I'm using my physicality.
Come on.
How much? Okay. Let's pretend. All right. Let's say that Pete, I said, hey, I'm going to put $50,000 on this game. All right.
Yeah.
You get $50,000 and you can walk away, or you get $100,000 if you beat her one-on-one. Are you playing the game to go for $100,000?
There is a ref too, so no elbows or anything. Yeah. There's a ref.
We've got a legit one-on-one.
Yeah.
I'm playing the game, but I'm prepared to lose. I'm playing the game because I think I have a shot, but I'm prepared. She is so good and such a different kind of player. The shots she hits from that far out, how do you guard that, unguard the drive? You got to get physical. You got to body up. I would be old man strength. Body
I said.
That's
He's got to box. He's got to box out. He's got to go old school.
So you would go like old school NBA, like Patrick Ewing, and just slowly back her down. Like it might take 10 seconds for you to take a shot, but you're just going to work your way inside.
Whatever it takes, Clay. I don't know. I would try to make some moves, but I feel like on defense, I try to make her go left and body her. Yeah.
So here's my thing. I would be so afraid if I were you, not of losing, because I think if you lost, people would be like, hey, Pete's, he's in his 40s. She's 21 or 22. She's 6 feet. She's the best women's shooter in the game right now. Here's what I'd be afraid of. I'd be afraid of injuring myself, like tearing your ACL.
Oh, like
Achilles.
That comedian who tried to dunk, who destroyed his knee.
Yeah, and you don't even get to finish the game. And then it's like, it doesn't even matter what the score was at the time. It would go mega viral even if you just had a bad ankle sprain or something. If you weren't able to finish the game, that's what I would be afraid of.
Although I would say if Caitlin Clark dunked on Pete, he'd never be able to live it down.
I recently played my 30-year-old brother because he declared it was the first time he thought he could beat me finally, and he's never beat me. And I beat him, but I almost died trying. And that would be the case here. I would die trying to play.
This is funny you mentioned that because my middle son is 13 now. He's going to be 14 in September, but he's playing middle school basketball. He's pretty good. He's not listening, so I can say he's pretty good at basketball. He's played travel, all this stuff. I played him recently in the backyard, and he got up like 10-0. And you played basketball. I'm curious, Buck. I understand that this is going to be borderline trash talk. He was talking trash to me, and I said, you need to shut up. I slept with your mom. And I felt bad that I had to legit play the I slept with your mom line on my kid. But that's an ultimate trash talk line. It's actually true in this case. But he was running me, and I don't know how much more time I have where I can win the game. So do you get beat, or do you just gallantly retire if your kids are starting to get better than you at one-on-one basketball?
You have to play until they can beat you legitimate. I will play as hard as I can to the very end and take great pride in the day when my kids beat me, and I will be okay with that. But they will have to earn it for sure.
The
Rite
book
of passage
is The War on Warriors, and Pete Hegseth did not say that he could necessarily beat Caitlin Clark. We thought we were going to bait you into saying you could smoke Caitlin Clark one-on-one.
I thought you told Will that you could beat her.
That was the 3-point contest. In 3-point contests, I feel bad. In one-on-one, listen, I want to be very clear about this, Buck. I think I could. Maybe. I'm not saying I would.
It's a maybe. Okay, it's a maybe.
Because of the physicality. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
I like where your head's at, Pete. Everybody, go check out Pete's book, The War on Warriors, Behind the Betrayal of the Men Who Keep Us Free. Great book out now. Pete Hegseth, come back and hang out with us soon.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, man, that's a good... now somebody's going to grab a headline. What if Caitlin Clark saw it and she challenged Pete one-on? You telling me you wouldn't watch
I'm going
to
tell you right now, I think, is it score and you keep the ball? That's another huge thing.
Yeah.
That's like, winner's ball, right?
Yeah.
I'd give her a run for money if it was winner's ball, but the second I'm trying to guard her, I get smoked. That's the thing.
That is very
you could
confident
muscle her.
of you.
I weigh like 200. I'm 6 feet tall. I could box her out, but
I think she would crush me. Here's a question for you as we go to break. Would that be the highest rated Fox and Friends ever if Caitlin Clark challenged Pete Hegseth one-on-one and Fox and Friends, as part of their segment, just covered that game for like 30 minutes?
She should they should play either a 3-point contest or like a game of horse on Fox and Friends with Pete. It would be amazing.
I would love to call that game. I would sit down with Will Kane, give me a mic, I'll be the sideline reporter. I would be riveted. I think that would be must-see. I bet it would be the highest-rated Fox and Friends ever. Allie's like nervous. Read. You're too fired up about this. Yes, I understand. I want to tell you about my friends at Prize Picks, because we're just talking about betting and talking about wagering and talking about making picks. Would you pick Pete Hegseth or Caitlin Clark. I'm going to be honest with you, Buck. I would definitely take Caitlin Clark against you. Pete was on the Princeton basketball team. I mean, that's pretty good.
I like played a little rec. I played a little rec in high school. Like, don't.
You
I'm
took
not
a shot at it. You were
crazy.
like, oh, you played Ivy League. I mean, but Princeton goes to the NCAA tournament. He might have won an NCAA tournament game with, what was it, Pete Carroll back in the day, if I remember? Or I think that was the guy's name.
Clay, I have no idea if Princeton's good at any sport. That's
Princeton
not.
is pretty good. They've made the NCAA tournament a lot over the years. I think they beat UCLA a few years ago. But I got to tell you, NBA Finals start Thursday. You got Edmonton going up against Florida. I didn't even know what was going on, but the Braves right now are playing the Red Sox. My 16-year-old's downstairs watching that right now. I want you to make sure you go download the Prize Picks app. Use my name, Clay. Get hooked up right now with up to $100 to make your picks. PrizePicks.com, my name, Clay. You can take advantage of the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, Major League Baseball going on daily. I bet they're going to have some Olympics fun coming up soon. Remember, the Summer Olympics are taking place in Paris this summer, starting in just a month or so. Get hooked up right now. $100 to your name if you go to prizepicks.com. Use my name, Clay.